Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the My Passport Wireless from Western Digital. This is the 2 terabyte version of this device, priced at $220 US. You can also pick it up in a 1 terabyte capacity for $179. In terms of performance, it's uniform across both models, storage being the only difference, and what you're getting is, in my opinion, the best wireless streaming portable device on the market right now. Now, if you need the storage, 2 terabytes should fulfill at least most of your desire, but you also now have the added benefit of a full-size SD card slot. So whether you're a photographer or just have a collection of full-size SD cards already, this is an added benefit in a very big way, especially if storage is what you're after. In terms of the internal battery, you're looking at 6 hours of streaming capability, but what does make this best in class is the refresh in hardware. We now have arguably the fastest wireless streaming portable drive on the market, with up to 150 megabyte per second peak speed. I'm expecting more along 100, but in real world use, but that's still very good. For those of you wondering, you do not need an internet connection. This will work with a direct Wi-Fi connection with your smartphone, PC, tablet, whatever you want it to use, essentially, that has Wi-Fi and the ability to see something on a network once it's connected to said device, because this drive essentially turns into its own internet connection that you will connect to, its own network. You can see it wants to be your wireless portable drive for all of your devices, and I can tell you right now, it can be. You can see a quick guide right there of the different ports on the back. We have on the far left, you'll see coming out of the box in a minute, the actual power button, then the USB 3.0 port itself, because again, this is a USB 3.0 drive at its core. Of course, they're making mention of the new wireless radios, some best in class in terms of portable streaming devices like this. The WPS button for one-touch setup, and then that full-size SD card slot. Nothing else really on the back other than a demonstration of how great it is for photography, because you can actually set the device to instantly upload everything from your SD card and even tell it to wipe the card in the event you want to. But by default, it will not erase the content on your SD cards, because even Western Digital, of course, should know better to have extra copies than not. So if you choose to delete and dump info, certainly you can. It's all a matter of personal preference. And this is really the perfect device for just about anyone that's looking to fulfill that streaming wireless data capability so that they can have all of their content when they're on the go in either a personal or professional setting. So again, photographer or just the family on a road trip, perfect device for both. And it really does cover a very broad spectrum, and that's part of the reason that I'm sharing it with all of you today. So let's get this thing out of the box. And again, very excited to actually finally see it, because when you look at availability right now, you will be hard-pressed to find this anywhere. And that's typically because, quite frankly, I don't know that Western Digital sees the desire for this product as epic necessarily, but in my opinion, there's definitely a very big market for this sort of device, because all of these devices we deal in these days, specifically tablets, smartphones, laptops, they're all finite in terms of their amount of storage. So if you can come up with one drive to basically rule them all, you've created a winner. And these have been on the market for a while now. This is far from a first. The SD card slot, though, and overall wireless performance that it promises is a first. In terms of a wireless SD card, the only thing like this on the market that's similar right now is from Kingston, and that device is not a portable drive, but rather just an actual jump drive that also will basically support an SD card like this, as well as, and here's the dummy coming out, as well as a USB port for jump drives. This, of course, takes that a step further completely and gives us a full-blown 2 terabyte portable drive, plus the ability, as I mentioned before, to utilize all of your SD cards to expand storage. Now, I have several 256 gig cards that easily are going to feel right at home jumping into this card slot, either dumping off content or just acting, hopefully, as yet another part of the streaming storage capacity, which I believe should work, but of course I will update all of you. It is definitely thicker than a portable USB 3.0 drive that's in this 2 terabyte class, but that's because it does have the added benefit of that battery. Charging time will be interesting to see. I'm not sure what it actually is. Again, I've gone over the ports already. Power, USB 3.0, and then the WPS push. And that's pretty much it. Nothing else on here other than the SD card slot itself. In terms of paperwork, quick start guide, and I'm assuming some instructions. This is the warranty, and that pretty much rounds that out. We have our USB cable right there, of course, USB 3.0, and it is a full-size, traditional USB 3.0, the native port on one end, and the micro standard on the other, which Samsung brought into phones and then quickly pulled out. And of course, a wall adapter for that charger. So basically what that means is that you can charge this with any micro USB, or excuse me, you cannot, is what I meant to say. You're going to have to use this cable specifically. So if you do have a charging pack or something, that was what I was alluding to, you could in theory easily connect this to one of the many battery packs out there, affordable ones, in order to prolong its battery life. However, one thing that I wish this was able to do would be utilize some of that 6 hours and change of battery life as an optional charging outlet. That would have been a great added feature. Maybe we'll see it in the next refresh. In fact, I think it's the only thing really missing from making this even more feature-rich and dominant in the current crop of portable streaming devices, because there are many instances where you could be out in the field as a photographer or just a regular user, and rather than necessarily using the streaming power, you might want that battery life for another device, especially in this world of so many different devices now basically feeding off of very similar currents and streams of power. It would make sense, but alas, we do not have it here. But we still have, as I said already, one of the most promising portable drives ever made for those of you looking to stream. And in terms of one other thing I want to point out is the number of users. You know, I've looked at other drives like this from Western Digital, from Seagate, and they all are limited. This is up to 5 devices. I didn't point that out earlier at once. So that's 5 simultaneous connections. That's part of cutting the cord for those of you that were curious why you'd want to do that. It's not just about not having to plug this in. It's also about having the ability to have 5 different users connected to this and getting content from one source. So you have an NAS device, which I think makes this even more compelling. 220, again, is a lot, but when you think about what this allows many users to do that they traditionally could not, I think it's going to be an instant purchase for many of you out there. Again, whether it's the family on the road or on that long flight, or just that photographer, enthusiast, whoever it may be, or just someone who doesn't want to worry about storage capacity on devices anymore. Of course, remember, installing apps on that storage capacity is quite different than mass content storage like this for photos and videos. But this is definitely, right now, the best option out there. Again, nothing else with a full-size SD card slot to even improve that flexibility. And when I look at the competition, none of them have the improved wireless performance. But of course, those options are right around the corner. As I mentioned, that Kingston device is very interesting. If you want to go a much more affordable route, you can pick that up for around $50 some odd. I'll throw it in the description as well, a link to that on Amazon. And of course, this drive in both capacities. The 500 gig capacity was supposed to launch, but I still have not seen any availability online from any major retailers. So right now it looks like 1 and 2 terabytes are where things are at. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. Without any question right now, hesitation, this should be, as I've said over and over again, the best option out there. And of course, I'm going to report back to all of you. And that also has to do a lot with the iOS and Android application that's out there for your smartphones and tablets and how it interacts with them. One thing to note, I do know this from experience, it's only going, the hard drive itself when streaming will only play back certain file types. This is nothing new to this sort of business. So that means you will have to rely on some third-party software in some instances to play back content, at least when it comes to streaming. But that pretty much rounds things out. Again, this is the My Passport wireless 2 terabyte drive from Western Digital with a full-size SD card slot. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.